Radio and TV here on 89.5 FM WSKB and Westfield's Community Programming Channel 15. Today we're talking about community programming here on radio and TV. In the studio, Ken Stomsky and Jay Pagluca, and our engineer Peter Coles. We're going to have a little conversation today about what we're doing here, as well as a new series that we're about to launch live from Studio 120. And as you can probably see, Jay and Ken are on a soundstage here, lighting behind them. And this is the stage where musicians will be performing as part of the Studio 120 Sessions series that's about to launch. What made you guys decide to do this series?
Actually, it was Pete Coles had the idea that he had done this a long time ago and wanted to bring this back into the studio. And I'm like, I got a whole bunch of musicians that I know are dying to get out and play anywhere, something. And Ken also had the same thing. He's had people reach out to him. And we're like, all of a sudden the light bulb goes off and goes, we can put them on right here in the studio and we can do shows right here.
So when you launch this, and I assume this program's airing on May 15th, so there will have already been at least one or maybe more that have been taped. Are they live performances, or are you taping them for future broadcast?
Initially, the plan is to record them for future broadcast. We do post-production editing. But something that we've noticed some people want to do is whilst we are filming, they want to go live on Facebook. So 2/3, I'd say, of the artists have elected to go live on Facebook. And, it's a one-time deal. You get to see how the program is made.
Yeah, we'll take a 2-hour session, and the final product is about 30 minutes. Well, it takes a little time to get set up, do a good sound check, and then sometimes they'll do a couple of takes in a song, or they'll see a mistake come out, and they know they can do it a little bit better. And to their fans, that's something that they don't usually see, and it's kind of fun to look behind the curtain, see what goes on a session like this.
What kind of genres of music are you guys soliciting and recording? Is it folk, rock, jazz, blues, a mix of things?
Everything please.
Yeah, everything
please.
in between, yes. We don't discriminate. And we have had everything from just a good old easy listening funk, punk, yeah. Let me start that all over again. Good, easy listening folk music, good rock folk, and we've also had a kind of a more rock sound here in the studio. It's fun.
We've even had rock in the studio.
Yes,
Yeah.
Harry rock.
Harry rock, but that's a different thing. Peter,
No, Harry Rock taught himself how to play in his retirement. He taught himself how to play guitar. And he can sing halfway decent, so he's got a rock duo where he plays with a guy with a mandolin? He plays, mandolin. And they play vineyards and things like that. So Harry's an actual musician as well as a talk show host.
Peter Coles, I got to ask you a question.
Okay.
You're the one that designed this studio, and initially when we all started doing community programming, we were utilizing the studio at Westfield State University.
Yep.
This is here at Westfield Technical Academy. It's a studio designed for both television and radio.
Yes.
Did you have, when you were putting this together, any idea that you would be using it for live performance?
Yeah, actually, the way I designed the studio is to make it very, very flexible. So in the fact that I wanted to make it super flexible so that the fact that we could accommodate just about anything in the studio, whether it be, radio shows converted for TV or small performances or... we did some exercise shows for the senior center. All the exercise programs have been canceled, and the seniors really need to keep fit. And so we taped a couple of exercise shows yesterday and the day before. So it's very super flexible. That's what a public access studio needs to be.
And also, I guess with the sheltering in place and social distancing, a lot of your time and a lot of the studio's efforts are going to hold town meetings and committee meetings and things like that, which it would not be something you would normally be doing in a studio designed for radio and TV.
Right. Yeah. We've had to, like I said, we've had to make it super flexible. Buying the equipment that I did, very targeted buying. I wasn't given a lot of money, so I had to make it super flexible right off the bat, and that's what I did. So, to comply with state law now, any meeting that would be open to the public for the city now has to be broadcast on Channel 15 and streamed live on westfieldtv.org. Otherwise, it doesn't comply with open meeting law, and the city can be fined for it.
So what is the largest meeting, number of people that you've had at a meeting that you've broadcast from here?
Virtual meeting, city council was almost 20 the other day.
But they're all virtual. They're all coming
Yeah.
in. Yeah, they're not all in one place.
So we have a lot of different kinds of programs here. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to do ArtsBeat, which is a program that primarily talks with people in the arts in the region, going up from the Berkshires down into the Hartford area. I know, Ken, you have a talk show, and what does your show entail?
A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Ken's Den.
We call it miscellany potpourri.
Talk of local news events, happenings, and miscellany potpourri was a tag that I came up with years ago. This June or July will be coming up on 6 years of me being involved with the community radio, and I'd say 5.5 years that I've had my own program. I'm known as the lovable goofball, I think, out of all of the community radio hosts. I can sit down, I can have a very serious program. When the election cycle comes up, that's all I'm about. And then the next week, I'm talking about walking down the aisle in the supermarket and finding something new on the shelf.
Yeah, well, you're the one that introduced a lot of us at a Christmas program to oddly flavored candy canes. And I think I can't remember if it was the bacon flavored one or the mac and cheese one that had me staggering to catch my breath.
Oh, it wasn't the clam one that caught you off guard?
No, I chose not to sample that one.
We do have fun, and all of the stuff we've done, and I've been here almost since the time Ken was as well. It's been a fun ride. We try to do good things for the community. We try to, and on my Friday show, I try to keep things positive. My initial thought for my Friday show was I'm going to bring bands in and we're going to do live interviews with them. Well, turns out I learned very quickly that come 6 a.m, you don't find musicians getting up that early. So that evolved into more of the old-time radio programs you hear on Friday morning. But now that we're going to have essentially music in the can that we've recorded here, well, that's going to be a part of that as well.
Well, I came to community radio here when I started, I guess in 2013, Patrick Berry coerced me into doing theater writing for the Westfield News Group. And I was doing that maybe a year or so, and then Bob Plass said, come talk theater on my show. My background is in radio, but back in 2009, I had left radio. So this was sort of a return to me. I started doing my shows live, but in the theater world, 8 o'clock in the morning on Fridays is like an hour after you go to bed. So
Right.
I've been taping my shows so I can reach these people when they're a little bit more wide awake and willing to chat. But I've been doing this now at least 4 years, maybe longer.
Peter, how did you get involved in this whole thing? You were there from day one.
I was probably here before day one. I was still in the technology center when the previous Mayor Knappich, previous Mayor Knappich, talked about bringing public access back from the college because he said it wasn't necessarily accessible to the public up there with the parking issues and finding it and things like that. It wasn't really available like it was when it existed as part of Continental Cablevision almost 20 years ago on East Mountain Road. So he talked about bringing it back, and originally it was going to be sited somewhere else, and then it moved here, and then it became a process. Things in the city move very slowly, so it took a couple of years to come to fruition, and I've been in this job almost coming up on 3 years now. So, even after I started the job, it took over a year just to build this space out and then outfit it and everything else. So it's been quite the journey to get this just up and running.
Now you say 3 years here at Westfield Technical Academy,
Yes.
but you were also at the very beginning when it was still back over at Westfield State.
Yeah, that story was pretty interesting too. I guest hosted like Kenny on the Mayor's Show when it was first starting. It was just one show. It was just the Mayor's Show, and the student that was producing it, Jake Lehan, said that to the mayor, he says, "This will be my last show. I got the camp job that I've been wanting for years and years and years, and I'm leaving." And the mayor looked at me and knew I was an employee of his and said, "Hey, what are you doing for the rest of the summer?" And that was nearly 6 years ago now.
But Peter, you came to this whole thing with a background in broadcasting because you had been with other stations in the past.
Yeah, I've been with more than one. I did public access when I was in my 20s with both Springfield, Longmeadow. I was a full-timer at Munson Palmer doing programming, and then WARE doing a radio show with my dad. And then I got out of the business. I went to Channel 40 after that. I got out of the business for a while and became a police dispatcher for over a decade. And, you never quite lose the drive for the business. It always comes back. I did an internet radio show when I started atomicradio.us because I was bored. And just things came around, and here I am back at it again.
And you're not bored anymore.
No, I'm a little busy now.
I think all of us in between, what we do here and in other parts of life, we've been very, very busy, and also very lucky that we have access to the studio. I consider myself lucky to have Pete Coles and Ken working with us in a lot of the stuff we do right here in studio. We're very lucky to have this.
I feel very fortunate because in the producing and hosting ArtsBeat, for example, with Peter's help, we've been able to take the show to Hartford Stage and Theater Works and the Capitol Steps up in Cranwell and the Berkshire Theater Group. And as most media in the area, their arts coverage has diminished over the years. You don't have a theater reporter, for example, at the Mass Live or the Republican anymore. And the only full-time daily papers that have arts reporters are the Berkshire Eagle, the Westfield News. Then you have the Valley Advocate. We're able to provide here arts programming that you don't find on commercial radio or television, and even public TV to the extent that we can do it. And that makes us more valuable, at least in my opinion, to the community because we're offering something that they're not getting elsewhere. Likewise with the other programming that we have here. You can't tune the dial to a commercial station and find what we're doing or find it on television.
Here's another thing that we're offering to the bands. Obviously, we're giving them a chance to come out and play and be seen. But what they take away from this is really a high-quality video. They can pick whatever songs they want off of the sessions here, and that's now available for them to use as a marketing tool. So you think about it, so many times you'll say, and there's nothing wrong with this, it gives you a taste of what the band is, but you'll see their Facebook page, here's who we are, here's where we're playing, and by the way, here's a video, and it's somebody with a shaky phone from out in the audience with lousy audio. What we're providing them is, look, here's what we can really sound like. When I'm out working, searching for bands for shows that I'm going to be working with, well, so you've got 2 minutes to impress me. And that shaky video on a Facebook page is probably going to get me to go off somewhere else. Let me look at the next one. Or if I'm interested, I want to see you live. I need a really quality taste of what you do.
And I would assume right now, for musicians, it's a tough lot. There's no place to perform. All the theaters are closed. All the clubs are closed. I talked on my special series, How We're Doing, with a guy who plays a piano and keyboard and goes and does senior centers and nursing homes. They're all closed to outsiders. And so there is no opportunity to either showcase your work or get your work out there. So the opportunity to perform in a studio like this and then be able to market yourself is a rare opportunity.
It is, and we're proud to be able to offer that, and that's kind of a good trade. We get programming from them. Of course, we're all volunteers here. We get programming from them, and we're able to offer them a great product to help market themselves.
Now, Kenny, you are the person that a lot of these bands and musicians are reaching out to. Especially since you had the story about starting the series was in the Westfield News. What kinds of musicians are approaching you, and what are they looking for?
I'm getting contacted by people I've never heard of. I'm getting contacted by people who do the local gigs in the local bar rooms. I'm getting contacted by...
You got contacted by a solo drummer.
Absolutely. And I got pulled into kind of scheduling everything because I'm a little OCD. For those who watch my program, they know exactly what I'm talking about. So I think I've already scheduled 8 or 9 different acts already to come in here over the next month or so to record.
How large a group can actually do a performance in the studio?
I think we found the sweet spot right now to keep distancing proper is about 3.
We can put 3 or 4.
3 or 4, I think, is the max.
And we're trying to make a little more space so we can put 5 in here. And then I'm toying around with an idea. This is going to take a little more hardware and software, but there are ways to work remote sessions. And I found it I know it's not the only one, but I found one band whose their significant others are going, "You're not going out playing anywhere. I don't care whether there's an audience there or not." Well, I get that. People they're being careful. And right now, tell you what, this is a scary thing. How long is it going to last? Who knows? But we're taking advantage of the downtime to do what we do here.
Well, I think we're very lucky in the fact that Peter has made sure that when we walk into the studio, it is disinfected. I played with some of the disinfectant this morning and almost flooded out all of the electronics because I didn't know there was an off.
But we're safe.
I didn't know there was an off button on that little spray thing.
You didn't know there was a continuous spray trigger?
No, I had no
He does
idea.
now.
He does now, yeah.
And now it's sitting on the floor next to my Starbucks, and I hope when I reach at the break for a sip of something, I'm not downing disinfectant.
I found out the wrong way about that too. Don't feel too bad.
Yeah, okay.
But I feel very safe coming in here to record because the studio is clean and Peter is in another room behind glass generally. I've only had one live ArtsBeat other than this one, and that was last week when Patrick Berry came in, and I felt real comfortable the way it was set up. I don't have any apprehension, but I think it's going to be quite a while before we're going to be able to go to concert halls or what have you.
I think so too. And pubs may open up, but people are going to be scared about going there. It's going to be slowly coming back. And I don't want to be the predictor of what's going to happen, but it is. It's going to be months. Most of our summer is pretty much gone.
Yeah, at this point in the land of theater, everything has been canceled. The only one that has not canceled yet is Tanglewood, but they don't open till the end of June, and I wonder whether they'll be able to perform or not. We have to take a quick break here because one of the reasons we can do community radio and television is through the support financially of underwriters who make this kind of programming possible. So we're going to take a break to acknowledge them.
Mark, can I run a little music from the show?
Sure.
while we go to the break?
Yeah, but before we go to the break, Peter Coles is our chief engineer this morning, and he is joining us along with Jay Pagluka and Ken Stomsky, who are producing the Studio 120 sessions of music by local and area musicians right here in Studio 120. We'll be right back.
The shuffling madness of locomotive ground runs the old-time blueser headlong to his death. He feels the building scraping, steam breaking on his brow. Charlie has stolen the handle and the train it won't stop going his children jumping off at stations one by one. His woman and his best friend in bed and having fun. He feels the dope across the uniform on his hands and knees. Oh, Charlie has stolen the handle and the train it won't stop going. There's a silence howling, catches angels when they fall, and the old-time winner has got him by the ball. He picks up Gideon's Bible, open at page 1. God has stole the handle, and the train it won't stop going, going, going now. Don't go down, and don't go down, and don't go down.
By Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back, everyone, to ArtsBeat this Friday. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer and a participant in today's program, along with Ken Stomsky and Jay Pagluca. We're talking about the Studio 120 concert series that is coming here from Studio 120. And when we went to the break, Jay and Kenny, we played music of one of the groups that is part of this. Who was the group?
That group was Stumpy McToad.
And are they local?
They are local, and if you want to figure out why they are called Stumpy McToad, you're going to have to wait until that program airs.
Yeah, and they are great musicians from the area. Been around here a long time. The guitar player is Doug Cotton, owner of Whip City Music, just down the road. So he's been a wonderful supporter of everything we've done. Every Westfield on weekends, the Artworks folks. Even he supported us at Gaslight Entertainment as well, and it's wonderful to have a business like that in town.
Now, you are one of the co-partners and co-founders of Gaslight Entertainment, along with Patrick Berry. Mm-hmm. And one of the things you guys did with your concert series that runs monthly at the Westfield Women's Club, the opening acts that you chose were all local musicians.
That's correct, right. It's our opportunity to give, again, a showcase to local musicians they may not ever have. The main acts are professional musicians from Boston, New Jersey, New York, acts you wouldn't normally see here. And to be able to open for those folks, it's pretty cool for some of these guys.
Have you gotten any feedback from some of them? I mean, the series started, I believe, in November.
Yeah.
And you were able to get a January, February, and lucky enough to get a March performance in before everything shut down. Have any of the opening acts felt that it made a difference in what they were doing?
I think it's too early to tell, and because everything faded away, that's going to be hard to see a quick feedback from that. They certainly loved being there, and of course we loved having them there. As far as what's happening next year, well, we've already booked Roomful of Blues. We're giving the acts that we had to cancel because of this break. We're giving them first dibs on what we're going to have scheduled. So Roomful of Blues, we're lucky to have been able to reschedule for September. I think it's September 18th, and I'm doing that off the top of my head, so I apologize.
And of course, the people that had tickets for that can use the tickets for the April show. Or
anyone that has tickets for any of our shows, if they're still holding on to them, they're certainly welcome to. That's credit for whatever show you want to see next year. And, of course, we're offering refunds if you'd like that. All you got to do is ask.
So you, at this point, you're planning, if all of the restrictions are lifted, there'll be a Westfield concert series come fall.
WestfieldConcerts.com, that's where you'll see it first.
Exactly. And the public response to it has been terrific.
We've been very pleased. I can't thank the city of Westfield for supporting this. And I say the city itself, the government, as well as the residents and from Greater Westfield. What I loved and I get the biggest kick out of is getting notes from people who are traveling from far away as the Cape, New Hampshire. They're going, hey, we want to come and see this show. Where can we stay when we come on site? So that, I think, says it all. we're reaching further than I expected we'd reach.
And the people that I've spoken to are just really thrilled that there's something like this in the area, and the fact that Westfield actually is kind of unique. It's not a small town. It's a university community. It's not a large city, but it's got a good, solid arts and entertainment base between the Westfield Women's Club, the theater company that performs there, and some of the art in Westfield on weekends, and now the Westfield concerts, and of course, community radio and television.
Well, I got involved with Westfield on weekends, and Ken, you're involved very much now. I am. But I was involved. In fact, Bob Plass got me there. He says, "Hey, are you interested?" And once I saw what they were doing, I absolutely was. I was hooked.
Bob
And-
Plass volunteered me too.
Yeah, that's how I got here to community radio and TV, was working with Bob Plass.
6 degrees of Bob Plass, as it were.
Yes, you stare at him for more than 5 seconds, it's all over. You're wrapped up into something.
Well, I can't think of anybody. I mean, there are other people that are really community advocates and community boosters, but Bob Plass is right at the top of that list.
He is. We pick on him a lot, but he is the focal point of so much in the arts that happens around here. When Artworks took off, probably about 5 years ago, maybe a little longer than that now. Yeah, they also came on and filled another niche that Westfield on Weekends didn't do. Westfield on Weekends did big events very, very well. But what was missing was that little small thing, a whole bunch of little small things around. And Artworks came on and says, we can do that, little grassroots operation. They've done that extremely well. So you look at that in the last 5 or 6 years, all of a sudden you're starting to see from Memorial Day to Labor Day, just everything has been a summer full of arts. I think we're going to be missing that. We're going to find by this fall that a lot of that was missed, and I can't wait to see that start up before the end of summer.
I know restrictions haven't been lifted yet, but do you think there will be any summer arts and music activities taking place? I
believe there will, and it's all going to be. I can't predict, but I can hope. So I guess that's where I am. I'm hoping that June, July, it's all going to be, are people comfortable coming out? Nobody's going to wave their magic wand and say, okay, now everybody go out today. That's not going to happen.
I mean, I interview on ArtsBeat regularly a lot of the theaters that have either postponed their seasons or canceled their seasons. And we recently interviewed Kate McGuire from Berkshire Theater Group. Their season was set to begin at Memorial Day, and now they're planning to start around the 1st of August. But they're very concerned about how comfortable people will be attending a live performance at that point. And Jacob's Pillow is completely canceled. Shakespeare and Company is canceled. Chester Theater has canceled all but its final production, which would have begun in the beginning of August. And just about all the other theaters are dark until maybe September, August, or something like that. And I think that when we get into concert going and theater going, after the pandemic is over, it's going to be a different experience.
Yeah.
Ken, as you're working on this project and also on your own show, what do you feel, or how do you feel that what you're doing is the community is responding to, and what kind of responsibility do you feel in producing what you're doing? What kind of responsibility to the people of Westfield?
You're talking about on my own show.
On your own show, as well as the studio concerts.
I always try to get some type of useful information out. And when this pandemic started up, that was my goal. I try not to concentrate on it 100%, but a good chunk of the first half of my program, I have city officials calling in, because you get to get more out in a 10-minute phone call than a 4-paragraph article in the paper. And what we have been doing is we have been actually post-production. We've been cutting out the individual sections where we have somebody from the city or city hall talking about the pandemic, and I get those out to social media. So it's another source of getting information out to the city on top of the newspaper and cityofwestfield.org, their website.
Peter, do you feel that the scope of what we're putting out here on community radio and TV has become more informational now that people are turning to the media to learn about the pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I brought this up to the mayor during one of the phone calls with Ken. The only local media that Westfield has now is the Westfield News and community radio, WSKB and Channel 15, which is kind of one kind of conglomerate, if you will. But we're it. The local news media out of the Springfield market don't like to come out to Westfield unless it's a hot story. But they're not giving us the day-to-day stuff. They're giving us the big stuff. They'll come out and interview the mayor when the cases spiked above 80 because that was the big story. Well, then when cases spiked all over, they don't come out here anymore. So we're the only ones providing that real local, the local flavor and true hyper-local media because, if you look at the geography of the place, Westfield, Southwick, Southampton, we're in a bowl. So we're our own little valley here. And, it's kind of why Westfield is unique. It's kind of like a bubble because it's in its own little valley. And we go to Springfield, but they don't come to us.
Well, yeah, they do come to Westfield on occasion. Years ago, the Springfield Symphony did a summer pop series at Stanley Park in Westfield, which in many ways put Westfield on the map, and certainly Stanley Park. I think that most people from Springfield and Longmeadow and Enfield know about Stanley Park, but maybe the rest of them just know Westfield is an exit on the Mass Pike. And so some of these programming, like Westfield Concerts, has brought them into town.
Yeah.
I personally, I had worked on the Springfield Symphony Summer Pops, and I had done work for the other concerts at Stanley Park, so I knew where Westfield was. But, I drive through Westfield during the summer maybe 3 or 4 times a week on my way to the Berkshires, and I don't think of stopping in Westfield. But as I've gotten to know the community, Westfield has a bookstore. Westfield has an independent cafe. Westfield has a museum. Westfield has art galleries and restaurants. And it's become, for me personally, more of a destination. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And it's because we're very, very self-contained. And the residents really only leave town to go to work. They leave town to go to work. There's breweries, there's music all over the place when the bars and restaurants are open. We have a university, we have our own hospital. So all those factors lead into the fact that, we can make. You don't really have to go anywhere to get things done around here. That's the great part of living here. I've lived here over 10 years now.
Yeah, I think it's a great community, and I think the thing that I like about it is the fact that the people are so genuine here. Everybody that I've met that's from Westfield really is a community booster on so many levels, and I don't feel that when I'm in other places. So to me, it's a great place to be, and at least to do some work and do some programming. Ken, are you from Westfield?
Born at Noble Hospital.
Is there a plaque at the entrance?
I think I was one of the last groups of people that were born there, actually. If there's a plaque there, it's probably only addressed to me, go away.
And we joke about it once in a while. We're sitting in here setting up the other day, and Ken all of a sudden stopped what he was doing. He goes, "Hey, this was one of my classrooms," and all of a sudden the light bulb went off, and that was our doorway coming in, and that's where the teacher sat, and that's the corner I sat in, and
Matter of fact, Mark is sitting almost exactly where I sat in this classroom for 2 years.
So this was where detention was, right?
Detention was down the hall and around the corner.
Okay. We got to take another break to acknowledge underwriters. And I've got some music to lead into the break. We talk about people that are local and from the area that have gone on to do great things. This is music from the composer Alexander Savronsky, who's actually going to be singing a Duke Ellington classic. He did a lot of sound design and music composition for Barrington Stage, Berkshire Theatre Group, and Shakespeare and Company. And he was in the arena stage production of Indecent, which toured nationally, and just composed last season the music for a Glenn Close play off Broadway called Mother of the Maid.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield. Underwriting for community radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to ArtsBeat, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer, and he's hiding behind glass to separate himself from Jay Pagluka and Ken Stopsky, who are here in Studio 120.
All social distancing.
Social
We're being
distancing,
responsible.
where a new music series is about to really launch in a big way. And you guys are bringing in area music groups or individuals. They're going to perform right where you're sitting. You'll be videotaping them, interviewing them, and then giving them a final product that they can use to market themselves.
Absolutely.
At the same time that you are providing programming here for community radio and community television. Where do you see the series going?
I would love to have additional public access cable facilities pick this up.
You know,
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Pete?
Well, actually, we can do that. The system that we have called Telview, it's a broadcast system. It's used by a lot of public accesses in the state, and you can syndicate your show. And we've had shows that we've done picked up as far away as Indiana. I don't remember what the show was, but we did something cool. We put it up for syndication. I think it was the parade for the 350. Public accesses across the country picked that show up because it was cool and it was fun, and Bob Plass was off the wall, and the usual.
Our shows seem to have a life after they're aired. They go to YouTube. And I was looking to put together kind of a compendium of some of the shows I've done over the last couple of years to bring them back through my Facebook and my social media, because I thought some of the interviews that go way back are pretty cool. And when I look at the number of views some of our programming gets on YouTube, or the hits it gets on Facebook or Twitter or something like that, I think some of the shows live on long after we do them. So hopefully for some of these musicians, they'll have a longevity with this. And if they're smart, they'll put the video on their own websites and on their own social media channels.
That's my hope. I want to help. From my own point of view, there's two things. I love being able to use this space and bringing local talent here and essentially showcasing them in places they may not ever get to be. It also, maybe I'm being a little selfish here, but it gives me an opportunity to work with some of my hardware, some of my PA gear, some of my lighting. If just like a musician, if I'm not using it constantly, I lose the skill. So I learn new things about what it's capable of. That usually frankly, it's nice to be able to walk into the studio, turn the switches on, and in 10 minutes be ready to go. Usually it's a 4-hour setup. So I can't thank these guys enough for giving me the opportunity.
Is this lighting that we have here, is this something that you designed?
Yeah, and Ken helped. He goes, hey, put a couple down there. So it's the fun thing about lighting. It's people say, oh, it's just lights, and you don't want to have just flashing lights. I look at it as I'm painting a canvas with lighting on a stage.
You have to set a mood.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you can change the lighting if you're having a jazz musician, you'd probably want different lighting than if you had somebody who was an acoustical guitarist or something like that.
That's
Can
right.
Is the studio flexible enough to change it act by act?
Well, it is actually. I've only got a few fixed lights in here. The rest of them are all movable. I can change the gobos and the colors, and it's just let's play and see what the computer can make it look like.
Do you think programmatically you'll expand the genres of music that are coming forward at this point? I mean, is there a chance, for example, that one of the chamber music programs that perform around that they can't perform right now because their venues are closed, that you might end up with a classical music thing or a Broadway kind of thing, or are you pretty much sticking to the jazz and the pop and the rock?
I have no problem scheduling any of what you just mentioned.
You just can't pronounce it again. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll put anyone in here.
Chamber music may be a perfect fit because it's only a few instruments. It's only a few artists.
It might be. I don't know acoustically how it would work because a lot of guitars are amplified, and when you have rock, I'm not sure how the studio might work, but I bet it's the right size for chamber music.
And I can mic an acoustic instrument, so that is all doable.
Yeah, I think the only thing we're missing is a piano, but maybe somebody would donate one.
There has to be one down here we can wheel in from somewhere, right?
Yeah,
an old upright from the bar down the road.
Yeah. I mean,
honky tonk.
I mean, I think that as the series develops, the sky's the limit in terms of what kind of music you could do.
Honestly, if you need a keyboard, you can take an electronic piano, and I'm blown away by the sound you can get out of that. It sounds you make it sound like a concert grand.
I learned that with the Capitol Steps.
Yes.
When they go out on the road, they ask for a piano from the various venues, and it's usually has to be tuned right before they arrive. Some great piano tuners in Western Mass, for example, but in other cities as well. But sometimes they're asked to perform in a place where they do end up bringing in an electric piano keyboard. It works, and it works very well. I mean, you can obviously appreciate the difference between the two, but as far as the audience is concerned, it doesn't matter.
Gaslight, WestfieldConcerts.com. Our very first show last year was a Carole King tribute band. And Deb DeLuca came up out of New Jersey and was phenomenal as a young Carole King. But one of her requirements was, I need a piano. I need a grand piano. And, of course, the Women's Club has one. And they tune it up once a year, but it gets moved around and it gets beat up a little bit like any piano in a theater with a lot of people using it. Well, they have a local guy. We have a local guy here in town that I called. Name is Jay, by the way. And he came over and found, in an hour, found everything wrong with it. A lot of hardware pieces need to be replaced. And, very soon after he was there, because he was there a couple days before the show, Marion Dunk came in, who plays it all the time. And she goes, "Who's been messing with this piano? It's never sounded so good."
Yeah.
And that was a good feeling to hear.
When I was working for WFCR, we brought Garrison Keeler in to do a one-man show, and he was trying it out in the area before he took it to New York. And he decided when he arrived, the show was going to be at Chapin Auditorium at Mount Holyoke, he decided he wanted to sing. And the piano that was sitting in Chapin wasn't used very often because the music department across campus had its own pianos. So we got this piano tuner who works with 7 Art Concerts, Richard Loomis, to come in and tune it. And it sounded absolutely fantastic. And I don't think that piano had been played in years. So,
and now everybody wants to play it because, I didn't know it sounded so good. All it takes, and the guy that tunes it, that's an art in itself. It really is. Yeah.
I acquired my family's upright piano, and it's been sitting in my living room for years, and I'm afraid to play it because the walls of the condo are so thin. I don't want my neighbors running and screeching. My ears hurt. But it will require a good piano tuner to come in and bring it back up to speed.
Pianos and drums are not necessarily okay for being a neighbor.
But they're okay here in the studio because
Absolutely.
Everything around us is pretty much classrooms where people don't have to listen, they have to work. The printing presses next door in the graphics department are louder than any drum set that'll ever be in the studio.
And fortunately, this studio is pretty well insulated, so we can do pretty much anything we want in here. Nobody's going to bother us.
Do you guys feel that this new concert series, first of all, does it air on a specific times? Or
my vision is that it would be a regular thing. Obviously, I'm going to run it on a Friday morning, but do we run it regularly? Will it be rotated through Westfield TV? Pete Coles kind of holds that key, and I think it's still a work in progress.
And I would assume right now on the radio side of things with Westfield State closed, they're not operating WSKB in the hours that we're not there remotely. So we are the only voices on the radio at this point over there.
We're the only live voices right now. They have automation to keep the station on the air, but we're the only live programming on that station until September.
And what about here, Peter? We have the capability. We could be doing 24-hour-a-day programming if we had 3 or 4 of you, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, there's that. No, my plan to run this series is we had already been running a music series from my old station, Munson Palmer Public Access, with a guy, Don Odell, that did a series called Blues Time years back, and now is doing a series called Legends. My plan was to run it in conjunction with that or eventually replace it with our own music and have us be the primary and him be the secondary. My goal was to run it at 8 or 9 o'clock on a Saturday and Sunday to have that regular block, for this program, and then lead into a program like his that, keep music going on Saturday and Sunday nights on Channel 15.
Well, we're just about out of time, and I want to thank Jay. Well, Jay, you were already here doing your own program, but we made Ken Stomsky get up early, and so
I'm furloughed, and I had to wake up for you today.
Yeah, I mean, you could have been sleeping till noon, and here you are. But I want to thank you guys first of all for coming on ArtsBeat because it gives us a chance to talk about what we all do here in community radio and TV, and Peter Coles for playing double duty, engineering us and being a guest. And second of all, I think it's very important that the Studio 120 sessions of music gets a lot of airplay and listenership because you guys are helping the music community, which is devastated by the pandemic.
It is.
So I think that I hope that the arts and music community are appreciative of the fact that you're giving these people an opportunity for exposure when they can't find it anywhere else.
The people we've already had in are ecstatic about it.
They're having a lot of fun, actually. And what they're really enjoying is when they choose to do it, is the Facebook feed, because they can really play to their fans that are missing them right now. Used to seeing them out in venues.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on ArtsBeat, and I hope at some point, maybe a couple of months down the road, we'll be able to have you guys back, maybe with one of the musicians
Love
that
to.
has had the opportunity to participate and feels that they've gotten something from it. We're going to leave you today with another song from Alexander Savronsky, and this is a treatment that he composed and actually performs for a Shakespeare play. Peter Coles has been our chief engineer. Today, ArtsBeat here on Westfield Community Programming Channel 15 and 89.5 WSKB is brought to you by a group of great underwriters and sponsors. I'm Mark Auerbach, and we'll be here next Friday at 8 o'clock with another edition of ArtsBeat.
Was a lover and his lass, with a hey and a ho and a hey nonny no, and o'er the green cornfields did pass, with a hey and a ho and a hey nonny no. For in the springtime, the only pretty ring time, when birds do sing, hey ding a ding ding. Sweet lovers love the spring. Therefore take the present hour with a hey and a ho and a hey nonny no. How that a life was but a flower, with a hey and a ho and a hey nonny no. For in the springtime, the only pretty ring time, when birds do sing, hey ding a ding ding. Sweet lovers love the spring. Sweet lovers love the spring.